is exciting enough for me to come home and turn on the tube and watch it and enjoy it. You know, the concept. This is going back to basics. If you can play this game and play it well, then you are good enough to play and do better in the actual modern basketball. So that's the good thing about it.
Welcome to the Basketball Remix Podcast. I am your host, Mark Armstrong, also known as Coach 1891. Today, I'm excited to bring to you a great conversation I had with the co-founder and CEO of the American 7 Football League. American 7's Football League is football remix. Imagine football mixed with rugby and Australian football scaled down for 7-on-7. If you can imagine that, you're going to be very close to what you're going to see with Americans 7's Football League. So I had a conversation with the CEO and founder, Sener Korkusuz. Great conversation, very interesting background. And here's the amazing thing about the American 7 Football League. They're making it available for everyday Americans to have an opportunity to invest in their league. That's right. You and I have an opportunity to invest in this emerging football league that already has international content distribution contracts in place, and just had the co-founder of the UFC join their board. So if you can have vision to think 5-10 years down the line, I think this is definitely a conversation you should listen to, and definitely a sports league to consider investing in. Now, I will say this, our conversation got cut off at the end, so you will not see a formal conclusion. But besides that, it's a great conversation. So let's go. And it's my pleasure to have my first guest on the Basketball Remix Podcast, a co-founder and CEO of the American 7's Football League, Sener Korkusuz. Sener, help me with that, man.
It's Sener Korkusuz.
Sener Korkusuz. Thank you for that. Sener, again, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today. Want to cover some areas with you real quick regarding American 7's Football League. But first, you have a really interesting background that I would say would be untypical in many ways to be a founder of a sports league. So unless I'm missing something, I'd love for you to just take a few minutes to share with us with your background and how you ended up as the CEO and co-founder of this amazing new football league.
Thank you, Mark. So, I've thought about that myself, but now I think I've got the answer for you, which is basically I started with what I do best, which is tech. And coming out of high school, going into college, I was self-taught, a programmer, computer wizard, all of those things. And I wanted to be the best at that. And so I formed a tech company, did very well. And through those years, I started to realize, what do I want to do next? What's my next passion? What's my vision? I want to build. I want to continue to enjoy myself and go on to my next phase of my career. So with my tech company doing well, I looked for opportunities, and the thing that caught my eye was my old childhood friend, Ryan DePaul, had formed a recreational football league for 7-on-7, no pads, no helmets, tackle. And it hit me like lightning, like nothing ever before had hit me. And I said to myself, this is the future. I need to get involved. With my help, I know we can make this an international phenomenon. And so I went about forming that partnership, and the rest was history. And that was in 2014.
Awesome. There's two things that jump out about your story there. The first one is I did a season in tech myself. And what I found out is most of the top technologists are self-taught. And that's something I've been telling young people is if you're really interested in tech, start hacking, start
Yeah,
just
that's right.
figuring things out, because the stuff you're learning in school, by the time it's in the books, it's ancient history.
Yeah.
The second thing is you're just like all these other tech moguls, man. You build these tech companies, and the next thing you know, you're buying sports teams.
I played football growing up. Pop Warner, Ryan and I actually played together on the Sayreville Leprechauns. So I played football. I was familiar, but it wasn't going to be my career. I had never thought of that. But obviously I have a passion for it. I've always loved football, and it's just a blessing. It really is. And I thank God I had that opportunity, and I took it.
Awesome. So what is the American Sevens Football League? For the people who are not aware of American Football League, I break it down as I promote a sport called basketball the remix. I call it the modern interpretation of the original game, and I say it's exactly what the name implies. It's the game of basketball the remix. When I looked at American Sevens football, I said, this is football remix, man.
Oh, this is football 2.0. So with the CTE controversy, with helmet to helmet being such an issue, when you take off helmets, right? Mm-hmm. You take off the helmets, you practically eliminate the repetitive head-to-head contact that you get when the helmet is on. So every play in your traditional NFL style football, even regardless of whether there's a concussion or not, the helmets are banging, and it's almost unavoidable. It's virtually unavoidable. So when you take off the helmets, you take off the hard pads, the player's instinct takes over. Mm-hmm. They keep their head out of the tackle. Mm-hmm. And this is where you're more similar to rugby, when you have wrap tackling and keeping your head out of that equation. So American Sevens football, my partner created the rules and developed the format for this sport. He did it in New Jersey over 10 years. In a recreational format, and the players loved it. It was almost obvious that there's a safety factor to this as well. Less cost, less equipment, less people to travel. There's just value upon value, and when we get into international expansion, anybody can play this game. All you need is a ball and bodies.
And talking about international expansion. The first thing I thought about was, man, it's remixed with rugby and Australian football. And then in watching some of your broadcasts, and let me tell you that you guys are already operating with many of the appropriate behaviors for a sports team, even during the pandemic. You guys are still putting some content out there during the pandemic. You're keeping your fans engaged. I love that. And in watching one of the broadcasts, someone made a point that just jumped out at me. It's like, this is the accepted way of playing tackle football around the world. You really finally have produced an American version of football that can easily be embraced by the entire world, because the entire world plays rugby, and we know there's a large population for the Australian football. So I think that's awesome. And then I also read that you actually have partnered with a university, and you're actually now doing a study to get data to prove out the theory that it's just a safer version of football. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. My alma mater, New Jersey Institute of Technology, they're one of the first that I went to. I'm grateful that they partnered with us to do those studies, which have already started to show that American Sevens football elevates the safety of our athletes. So when you eliminate the repetitive head-to-head, now the fact is you'll still have your football injuries. This is full contact, and it's a sport where the typical football injuries will occur. But that's why everyone loves football. It's America's most popular sport. Like you said, this is the format that can be played around the world now, and when people first see it, they can't believe it. It looks barbaric. It looks crazy. How are they doing it? Why are they doing it? But the football insiders and most people around football recognize that when you take off the helmets, the player's invincibility is gone after that.
Yeah, and from observing, I've watched plenty of tape, and the thing that jumped out to me was the players, as you mentioned, they're just automatically adapting. They can't help but instinctually adapt their approach to the tackles, etc. And another observation I made is the big guy, the guy that normally used to see just stuck on the line. This guy's getting involved in the offense, and it's exciting to see the big guy involved in offense.
It really is. It really is. When they're catching passes into the end zone, it's unbelievable.
Man, that jumped out. So there's so many exciting things that's taking place. So let's talk about American 7 Football League. So construction. When I think about construction, and it applies to business. What's your current business model, and how do you see that business model evolving as you scale?
Yeah. So in general, we're expanding with regions across the country. So we're starting out of the Northeast region with New Jersey, Baltimore, Pennsylvania, New York, and in that area. We have teams now in our newest region, which is San Diego and California, and moving into that area. So what we're doing is expanding with divisions of 8 teams across the country in cities across the country. We anticipate that eventually we'll have hundreds of teams across the country in multiple divisions, Las Vegas, Michigan, everywhere. Mm-hmm. And basically every city on the map is a market for us. So when we're bringing out regional football, we're bringing out the regional stars, the hometown heroes. It's almost a Rocky Balboa story, the guys who wanted to play at a higher level, who might not have had the chance, the guys who are playing for the brotherhood, for their love of the game. And we anticipate to cover all of these stories across the country and working its way up to a national, where we go from out of conference games into a national championship.
Got it. And with the regional rollouts, the Division 8s, would that be a franchise owner over that region?
That's correct.
And then they would work with other league team owners, etc.?
Yeah, that's correct. So with our division ownership, they're able to operate those teams in their local market, maximize their revenues on tickets, concessions, sponsorship, and grow the business very organically at the local level and bring the community into it.
So if I hear...
Not to mention, so all under the umbrella of A7FL as the league, promoting to the national championship, and the coverage, which is television, digital, and spanning the globe.
So with that, like for example, when the WNBA first rolled out, the company owned all the teams, and then they evolved into the American model, if you would. So if I brought a region, would I literally be like a mini WNBA, if you would, and I would run those 8 teams would fall under me as a regional franchisee? Basically, yes, that's correct. It's a licensing agreement. It's highly incentivized to be a win-win for both sides so that this league can really grow together. And I like that because I see your ability to maintain more brand consistency through all those teams because you have a centralized owner or franchisee in that area. That's awesome. Cash flow. How do you guys make money today, and what do you see the new revenue streams being as you guys scale?
Yep, great question. So up till now, over the last 5 seasons, we've been bootstrapped. Our childhood friend actually was our sole investor to start, so it's a great story. And on the heels of our product, which has gone viral numerous times, we've gained so much exposure, over 500,000 social media subscribers and 100 million views on our videos, which have gone viral on Bleacher Report, Sports Illustrated, Sporting News, Forbes, and we've been in all kinds of press because of that. So the product is what's generated our success, and all while bootstrapped. So now that we've started to raise equity crowdfunding on Start Engine, and we have over 200, nearly now 250 investors across the country. Now we're anticipating to scale up our business. So when it comes to revenues, we're looking at licensing our media content, sponsorship, sales of new markets, which are those 8 division regions, which I mentioned, 18 divisions. And basically those are the key revenue streams. We've already started to establish those revenue streams, but we're looking to scale them up from here as we expand across the country.
And talking about content, go a little bit more into that, because I've enjoyed the content I've watched. I've enjoyed the formatting that you have done with your content. I enjoyed the broadcast quality you guys have presented, and I can only see it going up from there. And I enjoy the fact you guys are still repurposing your content during the pandemic to keep those that are your diehard A7FL fans engaged. When it comes to the content, tell me a little bit about what your distribution is currently. I believe you guys are international. I think that might surprise some of my listeners. So if you can touch on that a little bit. And then how have your athletes, your participants, kind of received the fact that their games are being streamed internationally? What impact has that on them?
Yeah, awesome. So we started our first live stream in 2017. Mm-hmm. So that was 2 seasons into our league at that point, and it was pretty cutting edge at that time. This is just when Facebook was starting to develop their Facebook Watch platform. And on the heels of those first streamings that we did, 11 Sports, a television network on DirecTV, contacted us, saw what we were doing, and we made the deal to put our championship in that year on television with 11 Sports, which is an international network as well. So Poland, Luxembourg, and many other countries, including the entire US. On the heels of that, we went all out. We in-house produced our entire 2018 season. We did a deal with Facebook Watch to launch on their platform, and we broke all of our live streaming viewing records, and we knew this was the future. So the content is the key. My partner's a videographer. He's brought a lot of his expertise to the table. We're utilizing local crews to pull off our productions. It's all up till now been done very affordably and on a screen budget, given that we've been bootstrapped. But once again, the product shines through. So, and this is nowhere near an NFL budget, but the product is viral. The product is so exciting. It's unbelievable. The fans, the commentary and replies that they put on our posts, and that's just driven us to go more and more deeper into producing our own content. So this past season, we did a deal with Twitch, which is another big streaming platform. And we are now and we actually just launched this morning. If you take a look at our site, we are announcing this morning our 2020 season tournament, which is a 4-week tournament beginning July 26th. It'll be on TV with 11 Sports as well.
On TV and 11 Sports as well?
Yep.
Excellent. That's exciting. You've mentioned twice that the product, you've mentioned twice that the game is the, how would I say, you had said the product had shined through.
Yeah.
And what we're finding in today's market, and I think Seth Godin talks about this, is that the product is the marketing. The product does the marketing.
That's right.
You know, it's successful products in our day have the inherent they have inherent marketability built into them. And A7 American 7 football definitely has that. Let's stay on content just for a moment, because as an entrepreneur and as a person who's done a lot of things bootstrapped, I've learned and taught myself a lot of skills. What have you guys learned from producing in-house that may inspire you to keep that part of the creative side of the business close to the vest as you scale?
That's great questions, Mark. Great questions. So that's exactly right. And I just like in my tech business, I did everything. I wore every hat and I learned every position. And little by little, you have to take off those hats and build your team and put those people in place. And now you know how to manage them. That's the growth. You move from doing everything to managing everything. It's a totally different too. Managing, not for everybody. Some people would rather do the work. Some people would only manage and never do the work. And then there's people who go through
and they're leaders.
Transition.
And they're leaders.
Yeah, that's right. And so in this business, once again, we did the work. We had to do the work, you know, we fail. So we had to do it. And in that regard, like you said, now we're able to build our team and manage it properly and focus more on that creative aspect rather than just making sure we can pull it off and not fail. So it's extremely valuable. It's invaluable to, I think, our future and how we're going to continue to grow.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So community. I see American 7 Football League tapping back into the way all professional sports started in the United States. Recreational. My city against your city.
Yep.
Your city against my city. Good teams get evolved. People want to come watch it. People come pay to watch these competitions, and they scale from there. Also, I think we're in a time and season where it's important that brands have a relationship with communities. So with that, can you speak quickly? Can you speak on what's your relationship with your brand's relationship in the communities you're in now, and what do you see moving forward? And so this is extremely important to us. We're in Baltimore in the inner city, which is a rough area. I went there for the championship in 2018. Beautiful, beautiful city, unbelievably beautiful, but a lot of crime as well. It's a city that has struggles from financing in the schools to keeping people out of trouble. And so what the A7FL does when we're in Baltimore and we have 8 teams, we're hearing from the mothers, the grandmothers, the wives. Thank you guys for having this league here. Thank you for giving our son, our husband something positive, something to focus on the weekend, something to enjoy, something to alleviate the stress. So it's unbelievably valuable to the local community. We want to continue to work in our local communities and build those relationships. It definitely takes the communication and connecting with the right people. I think it's a process that now that we've been established, we can accelerate. So we are looking forward to bring the fan bases out of the community, but also give back to the community as well. And you said something that really is a confirmation to me, because one of my objectives, I believe, purposes with Basketball to Remix, particularly with this transition we're seeing take place in our society, is to put something in the community that can positively impact and quite frankly, keep him involved in a positive activity, which when you study the history of basketball and the reason, the purpose basketball was invented by the YMCA through James Naismith, who wasn't a doctor at the time, who was a student, it was to provide the rambunctious young men in the Pacific Northwest a positive activity during the winters. Right.
It's only common sense. This is not brain science. You get bored, you can get yourself into trouble. You're having fun game to do. That's the beauty of this business. It's, in a lot of ways, it's very simple. Of course, it could be very complicated as well, but the simplicity is beautiful. That's the beauty of it.
I agree. And so let's wrap up talking about the contract. You guys are in the middle. You're wrapping up your final days of your first equity crowdfund. I'm hoping there's going to be more in the future. What are the benefits of someone like myself or one of the listeners going ahead and picking up, I believe the minimum would be 300 shares of American Sevens Football League?
Thanks. Our first public offering, we're overwhelmed by the support across the country. Football fans, people who have seen our sport for the first time now have the opportunity to invest, and they're doing so. And it just fills us up, with power to do what we have to do to go on to the next phase to expand this league. Of course, equity crowdfunding, and this is something new. It's part of the Jobs Act, which was brought on by President Obama. It's meant to enable or open access to everybody to become an investor, not just accredited high net worth investors can take place in IPOs. Now, actually anybody can take place and be involved in an IPO. Of course, at the same time, these are the most risky type of investments, but there's a place within a well-balanced portfolio for these high upside potential investments. And so A7FL is now an option for those investors who are looking to diversify and maybe add some higher risk, but huge potential upside. And so that's kind of our story on Start Engine, and really grateful to partner with them.
And you secured another really awesome partner, David Isaacs. Let's close. I think the reason I think that he's an awesome ad is he's been through the long growth cycle before, right? I remember the old VHS tapes of UFC.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So how did that come about, and where do you see him really adding value? Because I think his addition adds value to your team, shores up long-term better, shores up that ability to go to the next level due to access across many lanes, if you would. Talk a little bit about David Isaacs' impact of joining the American Sevens Football League.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Mark. David Isaacs has been tremendous. So when we realized that, hey, we need to build our team, my partner Ryan and I realized we're doing a lot together. If we're going to scale, this is the time we need to build our executive team. So I went to one of my close friends, Louis Spagnolo, for advice. And basically, like always, he gave me a very simple one-word, one-sentence type of advice. Go after the sports guys. And so with that, I set out going after finding, like-minded individuals who I thought could work with us. It's about networking. So within a few conversations, it probably took about 2 or 3 people before I was networked with David Isaacs. As, hey, this is the guy you need to talk to. Hey, we love your idea. Oh, that's awesome. It's amazing. I know who can really help you with that. And led us to David Isaacs. And we hit it off right away. For many months, we had to discuss and negotiate this. It might have been a 6-month process before we brought him in. Well worth it, vital for us. in this next phase of our business. And he's been tremendous working with me and my partner day in, day out, rolled up sleeves, helping us to form new partnerships. And like you said, he's seen it from the beginning in the UFC. Just like they created the UFC, we're creating the A7FL, a new sport, in some ways even safer than the incumbent sport, which was boxing for the UFC, and ours is the NFL. And so David Isaacs is a genius of emerging sports. We are a new emerging sport, and we're like-minded, and couldn't have a better teammate. I'm really happy with that.
Hey, I want to thank you for listening to the Basketball Remix podcast. I want to let you know about some really cool t-shirts based upon the no backboard concept. Now, these are high-quality tri-blend t-shirts for only $20. It's high value, low expense. So stop by nobackboard.myshopify.com. We have several different designs, so I'm confident you'll find a design that you like. And in the process, you'll be supporting my efforts to bring a Basketball Remix league to your city. Finally, let's connect on social media. I would love for you to stay up to date with my efforts with Basketball Remix, the modern interpretation of the original game, as well as catch all my latest podcast drops with the Basketball Remix podcast, and also the podcast I do with my main man, Independent Rob, of B-Ball Addicts, the business of basketball from the blacktop to the boardroom. Hey, until next time, this is Coach 1891, Mark Armstrong. Be blessed, and I know I'll see you at the top. Basketball Remix!